It's not.
You can keep talking. I'm just getting us going here.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what September brings.
Yeah.
I'll already be harvested by then.
Yeah, right. Harvested or harvesting?
Not harvested, hopefully now.
Oh, I wish. I know. I've had a bunch of growers come down this summer from Oregon and Washington, interested in the regenerative organic certification. And you talk to these guys with like 20 or 30 acres, and it must be so nice. It must be so nice.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, we got 30 sheep and 20 acres. Oh,
I know.
jealous.
I have clients that are like, oh, we made it through harvest. I'm like, you had one harvest.
Started on Monday.
Yeah. I got another 3 months to go.
Oh man, you're still doing all the casts, Mindy?
Yeah.
How many acres are you at right now?
Oh, we're still at the same at like the 185.
No, like total for your company.
Oh, geez, I don't even know because I do Dow, so he buys his property every week.
Right. Everything life touches.
We are live, and it looks like we're over on Facebook, or at least it's catching up right now. And then it looks like we already had Steve and Martha from Columbus, Ohio joining in. Looks like it's that's not bad, 88, but it feels like 99 while you have the humidity there, don't you? So that's yeah. And looks like they have a 16 Tablas Creek Kunwas for today's Paso wine.
There you go.
Beautiful wine for a hot day.
Cool. Well, we'll get started here in just a second, though. I didn't want to put a damper on the conversation, but for everyone just tuning in, yeah, it's hot in Paso, and it's getting a little hotter as the weekend approaches. So, and if you're anywhere in parts east of here, I don't know, who knows? Maybe this little heat wave that we're having is making its way that way eventually. Sorry. As weather works, right? But we'll see. So, all righty. I think we've got a few people over on the Facebook side of things tuning in. Let me look. Got my split screen now, so.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'm fancy. Yeah. All righty. Cool. Excellent. All right, everybody. Well, welcome to another Paso Wine Hour. I'm Chris Toronto with the Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance. And we took last week off. I was actually out of town over on the East Coast, enjoying a break in the humidity, actually, where I was over in Boston, and it was actually quite nice over there. But back here and back into the nice warm weather. Yeah, that's right, Jordy. I know. And the socks were actually on a road trip, so I didn't get to go. Oh well, yeah. I was busy. I was there for a purpose. So anyway.
Yeah.
And they won yesterday, 20-8.
Oh man, they needed that. They needed that bad.
Yeah. I wish that could count for multiple games, especially since, which they're kicking our ass right now. But yeah. Anyway, back to
anyway.
You talk about socks all day.
Today, I'm keeping track at home.
What's that, Curtis?
The A's won 17-0 today. Just while we're talking baseball.
Oh, Red Sox team today.
Oakland A's.
Oh, the A's.
A's.
Like what? We weren't talking about the A's. I'm sorry, buddy. We're talking about the Sox. Anyway, all right, back on track. Today we are talking about what is happening in the vineyard. We'd like to do these check-ins basically on what's happening in the Paso AVA as far as where we are at this time of year and what's happening in that vineyard. We've got full Veraison happening right now, and we've got maybe the clock, I suppose, is ticking as to when harvest is going to start. I have 3 panelists today, all new to the Paso Wine Hour. that are going to be talking a little bit about this subject and more, actually. We're really going to dive into what it's like as we approach harvest. I'd like to give each of the panelists, though, a quick little moment to say hello, who they are, where they're from, and that good stuff. So let's start with Jordan Lomborg over at Tablas Creek.
How's it going? Yeah, Jordan Lomborg, viticulturalist over at Tablas Creek. We're a 280-acre property on the west side of Paso in the Adelaide district. Farming 106 acres of producing vines, certified regenerative, organic, and biodynamic.
Cool. I think we'll get into what that means as also at some point in time, because that is definitely a very new thing and hopefully something catching on a little bit more out there in the industry. Curtis Haskell over at Shale Winery. Welcome.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me, Chris. I'm Curtis Haskell, the winemaker here at Shale Oak Winery. I've been here for just over 10 years making the wine. We're a 3,000 case producer here. We have our own vineyards, about 7 acres right here on our property, and then purchasing from surrounding areas as well. But everything coming out of Paso.
Cool.
We do all of our STIP certifications. We've got a beautiful LEED certified building, which is leadership and environmental design.
Curtis, you kind of come in and out. You might, I don't know if you can, whether it's speak louder or get closer to a microphone, but you're cutting in and out a little bit there. You might want to consider headphones. So sorry, everyone, we didn't check on this at the beginning, but we'll come back to you.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. So next up, Mindy Allen with Custom Vineyard Application and Martinez Farming. For space purposes, of course, we just have Martinez Farming on her little nameplate there. But Mindy, welcome. I tried to get you on in the past, and you're a wealth of information, and you manage a lot of vineyards in this town, and I'm stoked to have you on.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Mindy Allen, and I have a vineyard consulting business, Custom Vineyard Application. And then Martinez Farming is our labor contracting business that supports the vineyard consulting business, but also supplies labor to a lot of different consultants in this area, because basically we're all one team in this area. So, you know, we're working to make Paso great. And so all working together, you know, works out well. So, you know, it's putting together, you know, the Commonwealth of Paso Robles and putting it on the map. So
that's cool.
We're here for.
Awesome. Yeah, and I know you've got a lot of clients and a lot of very to-do name clients as well, and like marquee, I should say, clients in our area that are often those labels that are recognized as Paso brands. Mm-hmm. So here's what we're talking about today. We are at a point here in the middle of August. Veraison has set in. What is Veraison? That is, of course, when those green grapes that are supposed to eventually be red grapes, and maybe even some of those green grapes are going to be white varieties, start their little maturation process towards ripeness. And so what we're seeing is a lot of color happening out there. Pretty much everywhere. I don't think there's even anything not going through it at this point in time, unless it's somewhere really, really super cool, or maybe one of those super late varietals, ripening varietals. I'll let our experts chime in on that one. But what we're also seeing, though, is this kind of imminent approach of harvest. And that's when wineries start getting their equipment ready, and when labor contractors, let's just say, start forecasting out some dates and some things and make sure that they got people in place. We've got vineyard managers starting to really watch all of the elements that lead us to when harvest is going to begin. And that's what we're going to get into today. But just before we really dive into full conversation, Mindy, you, like I said at the beginning, you manage a lot of different vineyards. You're up in the Adelaide district. You're over in the Geneseo district. I mean, from an AVA standpoint, are we kind of in a normal spot right now? It's been kind of hot lately too. And so where are we?
Yeah, we're about 2,500 growing degree days at this point, which is good. It's almost getting us to a normal a normal point. And we see a lot of similarities this year with 2016. So we're kind of facing which was a great vintage from everybody. Everybody agrees that was a great vintage. Lighter crops, looser clusters, not a lot of weight to the clusters. So, you know, this heat is not favorable to us right now. I think we all experienced, you know, the lack of rainwater last year with Petite Syrah and morning side versus afternoon side. And last year we harvested a lot of Petite Syrah vineyards on the morning side, or I mean on the afternoon side, and then came back 2 weeks later and harvested the morning side just so we could try to save some of the crop. A lot of more shade clothing this year when you can get the shade cloth. So yeah, it's an interesting year. You know what, we just have to take what Mother Nature gives us and we have to make it work. So, you know, there's challenges every year and we just have to make them work.
Yeah. Jordy, you were nodding your head there on a little bit of the similarities as she was talking about 2016. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely experienced some heat at Tablas Creek, but fortunately, you know, we haven't seen many extreme heat events. When I say extreme, it's 110 degrees plus. You know, we in the vineyard can kind of live with the 100-degree days because you got to remember it's good 10, 15 degrees cooler inside that canopy. So the vintage is turning out really nicely, you know, and I knock on wood because it was very similar to last year at this point, climate wise. And then September rolled around and we had 2 or 3 weeks where it was just 110 degrees plus, and it really just kicked things into hyperdrive. And the grapes weren't ripening in a, you know, in a natural process. A lot of that ripening occurred due to you know, abiotic factors, you know, those heat events. So like Mindy said, it's definitely a lighter crop this year than last year. We're seeing smaller clusters, smaller berries, which, you know, as Curtis will comment on, is a good thing as far as the cellar is concerned. You know, a lot more skin, a lot more phenolic compounds, a lot more tannin in those smaller berries. So yeah, I mean, it's really exciting. You know, we're doing everything we do every year. It's pulling out the lights, making sure they all work, making sure we got the shears, making sure we got the headlamps, making sure the tractors are all running well, the bin trailers. I mean, there's this real long checklist that we kind of go down and through, and then we wait. It's a really fun time of year, you know. The excitement builds. It's why we do what we do. Where this is the culmination of the year's work and labor. So always
hurry up and wait game, I guess.
Time.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said it's a hurry up and wait game then, I guess, in a sense.
Exactly. Yeah, you want to be ready to go. You got to be ready to go at any moment. So.
Curtis, you're kind of over in the Willow Creek area there, and nestled in amongst trees and the like, and some steep slopes. And it's kind of cooler there, no? Wouldn't you say?
It's definitely cooler. We're in kind of a cool little pocket right here. Like I was just sitting outside, and I believe it was like 89, 90 degrees. Where downtown right now is probably a good 5, I would guess, or so. Like it was, I was comfortable. It wasn't too crazy. So we're always a little bit behind as far as like our vineyard here. We do have an east side vineyard where we grow Albarino, and that Albarino is coming off next week. Like we checked it this week, and he just said hurry up and wait. And for us, we got in on Monday. I was on vacation last week. My assistant winemaker was on vacation, and we got here Monday, and it's like, oh, we're going. And so we've been full speed ahead this week, getting everything ready, getting getting the all of our bins washed and whatnot. We had our forklift guy here today, maintaining that, making sure that's gonna get us through the year, and so we're there for the most part.
My heart just fluttered a bit. In all honesty, hearing you talk about next week, it was like, oh.
It was shocking. But I mean, it's a very small sample size, but what we've seen is we have higher sugar and like very high acid right now. Like we're selling some of this Albarino for a sparkling project, and I got their numbers yesterday, and they're like, we need it right now because it's 19.5 bricks with a 2.90 pH and over 1 TA, and so it's kind of perfect for them right now for sparkling. And but we're hoping like that vineyard in particular, we have like we kind of pick on acid because we don't want to lose acid, and right now it's like, oh geez, that sugar's already up a little bit, and the acid's like hasn't gone anywhere. So it's even though the year hasn't started yet, it's already what's going on.
And so what does that look like? Tell everybody, and I'll go back to Mindy. Mindy, you're out there, you're gonna be your crew's ready, it's like it's full steam ahead, but what are those days like for you when harvest starts up until when it finishes?
Well, I mean, you kind of gear up for it right now, with everything taking so long to ship in everything, all of our toilets, all of the bin trailers, getting extra tires, making sure we have enough parts, the machine harvesters have extra parts, everything. I mean, you can plan till you're blue in the face, but it's just going to happen. And gearing up for everything. I mean, I put everything on a Google Calendar. Every foreman has their own color and everything like that. So it's just about organization before we get there. But you could organize all you want, and it's still going, to be by the seat of your pants. And that's what makes us all, like Jordan said, do what we do, because it's kind of like the excitement, and obviously we all thrive off of it somehow.
You guys, I mean, during summer though, I mean, you're busy. There's still stuff happening, and Jordy, I'm sure you're still tending to the vineyard. You're the viticulturalist there. You're probably doing a lot of other things, but at some point in time, when that switch comes on, you're working how long a days, and when do you sleep, and when do you eat?
Man. Well, a typical day in the life at Tablas Creek, as far as the vineyard is concerned, we roll into the vineyard around 12:30 at night. And on a big day, we'll start picking at 1. That's just for a handful of reasons. That fruit is cold, so it's hitting the cellar floor pretty cold at that point, which is great. We're avoiding heat at that point too, so we're not having to work or pick into the afternoon hours. And it's just a pleasant working environment, in all honesty, being under the stars and then the lights of the harvester. There's something special about it. You got owls flying over your head. You're looking up to a sky full of beautiful stars, and you got all that Mexican music blaring through the vineyard. There's just something really fun about it. Usually we'll pick till about 11:30, and then send everyone home. I got a 2-year-old daughter at the house, so I'll probably get a couple hours of sleep in before I'm back out of bed and hanging out with her until her bedtime, and then back down again. So not much sleep is involved, but it's beautiful having a map, and then we're just crossing out blocks, so you see that light at the end of the tunnel. It's always kind of a fun thing to do as we go through harvest.
And you guys have a really interesting, cool board in the winery that has every pick date, every variety, and all that kind of stuff. I feel like that's always part of one of your Instagram stories or something that you guys do there.
Yeah, it's fun watching that thing fill up. At Tablas, everything is picked by hand, and we'll make multiple passes through blocks. a lot of our blocks will get harvested about 4 times. So, and everything's vinified separately, which makes for a really fun blending experience. But yeah, it's all part of it. We have awesome cellar team lunches every day, which, you know, hopefully I can be around for, and it's always just a really fun and exciting time to be, you know, in and around a vineyard or winery.
Yeah, Curtis, handpick, or I'm looking at the maps behind, and I know you've got some steep parts, but then you also have the stuff out east. Are you a combo of both, or are you a handpick only?
Well, we have our east side vineyard, which is 60 acres. And so we sell a lot of that, and most of that goes to clients that want it machine picked. But everything we bring in here is hand picked.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm not getting in at the winery at 12:30 though. So I'm showing up a little bit later than that most mornings.
It's great.
That's awesome. Mindy, can you talk a little bit about some of the logistics behind coordinating, say, a hand pick versus a machine pick? We have a question that came through on that.
Yes, so we do a lot of night harvesting hand pick, day pick as well, hand harvesting, and then the machine going as well. So sometimes in some situations we'll have the machine and the hand going in the same vineyard at the same night. But we are night harvesting somewhere every single night, whether it's, you know, 6 tons or 20 tons or whatever. And then we are day harvesting as well. So we run about 18 crews total. It's usually kind of our average, and just depends on what's needed. And then we have our drivers and our walkers and everybody like that for machine harvesting. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
It's just keeping it's organization. It's organization and just making sure that you're no better than the team you have around you, and making sure everybody's organized. And you know, I'm usually the central point person, like give me a call if there's a change or something that happens, or I think obviously we're going to be short this year. I don't think we're going to run long on any harvest, but you know, I know how many crews I have, and so I don't overschedule. You know, I like I said, I don't think this year is going to be a year where it's over tonnage going into the second day where I would have to move my schedule again. So I think this year it's going to kind of be the opposite. It's going to be a little more expensive for the grower because there's not going to be as much crop there. And you're going to have additional crew members picking that to get it to the winery on time. So it's going to create an issue where you're going to have more crew members for less time, and the grower, unfortunately, in years like this where it's less tonnage, they're going to feel it in their pocketbooks.
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about the weather that's coming up here soon, and let me see if I get my screen shared appropriately here. Whoops, not that one, Chris.
Oh, Chris, what are you doing?
There we go. So we've got some warm weather coming up. This is Western Weathers, who we use actually, and who our members use to help monitor weather conditions, forecasting. They also collect weather data. And so I know over at Tablas Creek, actually, I think there's a station there that is part of the network and everything. But we're looking at 100 to 110 potentially here these next couple days. You look at the further out forecast, and they're saying anywhere between 95 to 115. That's pretty hot. Can we talk about what's happening in the vineyard? What's going on with those plants? Are they still photosynthesizing, or what's happening with sugar? What's happening with acid when we have weather like this?
You know, as far as the vines are concerned, you know, you really got 2 temps. You got your exterior temperature and your interior temperature. So that interior temperature is, you know, under the canopy, under the leaves, under the shade. when it hits 95 degrees, the vines shut down. So they really go into this quasi dormancy state. Photosynthesis stops, everything stops. It's a stall point. I believe you start losing acid, Curtis. I don't know, you could probably comment on that in those heat events, and you're not, without photosynthesis, you're not creating any sort of sugar in the berries. So that's definitely one of the downsides viticulturally that I'm aware of when you experience those heats. And then any of that fruit that's exposed to the sunlight gets cooked. I mean, you're talking about complete dehydration in some of these clusters if you're experiencing these extended periods of extreme heat. Last year, beautiful growing season. September rolled around and we just got walloped with those temps again. And you get this unnatural ripening that will occur. The berries ripen due to heat. It's not a natural process that they're supposed to be going through.
Curtis, you want to chime in on that as far as what's happening with acids and stuff when we're getting these temperatures that are coming through like this?
Oh yeah, for us, like in reference back to the Albarino I was talking about, we definitely see that to where that heat will stall out the bricks rising, and then the acid just disappears. And that's why we, like in this vineyard in particular, we don't really pick on sugar most of the time. We pick on the acid, and we watch the acid, and you just have to keep your eye on it because it's Albarino. You want acid, that's kind of one of Albarino's fortes is
a flabby Albarino.
Well, but they don't have the flabby barrel aged, malolactic Albarino, but it's a big issue for us. And like Jordy was saying, we have our block of Syrah right on the property here. It's south facing, so you get that east to west, and that eastern side is just it's an issue we have where it just gets cooked, and the west side looks fine, and then the eastern side is just the western side is just obliterated by the sun. It's just these little tiny dehydrated things that you can't do anything with, where the other side looks absolutely perfect. So it is that's something we've been trying to work with lately, is just a bit more shading, a bit more just protection from the sun gas that you get day to day.
Mindy, how far along do your clients need to say, hey, we need shade cloth, or I mean, then there's probably also decisions that they're making as far as canopy management that you're probably doing for them. That, I mean, do we find ourselves at a point in time where you've managed to canopy in a certain way, and now it's like kind of, we probably should have left more canes, or we probably should have left more on, and the like. Kind of a two-part question.
Right. Well, it's always a conversation with the purchasing winery. I mean, because that's basically your client. I'm managing for people, but their client is actually the winery. So Jordan and I have a property that we work with, and he was out there and said, I want you to remove the short shoots, the fruit off the short shoots, and basically what we call like a 3-2-1 type thing on the length of the canes, whether to keep fruit on or not. So it's having the communication with the winery and finding out what they need for their program, finding out what program it is. We always try to work our budgets backwards. How much are we getting per ton to know how much farming we can do in the field. And shade cloth was in, with everything else in this world right now, it was difficult to get this year. And actually a large order of shade cloth that I had just arrived late last week. So we're just putting it on right now, trying to get it on before we have the heat, but it wasn't done in a timely manner to really be 100% effective. So yes, I do love shade cloth. I love using it, but you have to look at the end result and see if that grower has enough money in their budget to support that shade cloth. So, you know, like I said, you want to work as much as you can with that purchasing winery to know what they need as well.
Yeah. We have a question from over on the Facebook side of things. Are vineyard managers possibly looking at changing varietals in the vineyard because of climate change? We're having this heat conversation, and so I think that's it's it's kind of happening now over in France, where they're starting to approve different varieties into what would be Bordeaux and the like. But are we seeing ourselves here changing things around as far as what's planted in vineyards?
We plant, I mean, as a vineyard manager, we're planting what the winery wants us to plant. So I guess it all comes down to distribution, and that's, you know, a question for Curtis and Jordan on that is what the winery needs is what we plant. If we're changing our root stocks, that's more as from a vineyard manager perspective, it's the root stocks to, you know, basically, you know, try to be a little more drought resistant or drought tolerant. It's not going to be resistant, but we still in the end have to plant what the winery wants and where their demand is coming from.
Yeah. Jordy.
Changing where it's at too. It could be if you're planting a new planting, you may change where that variety is at and not maybe put it to the top of the hill or something like that if it needs a little care.
Yeah. From a climate change kind of perspective, any contemplations on replanting certain things or getting different varieties? I mean, with Tablas, your guys' program it's pretty set, but
yeah, we got 14 to choose from. You know, it's for us, it's less varietal, and to Mindy's point, all about rootstock. You know, we go purely with 1103 Paulson at this point. You know, it does really well in the clay and the limestone, and the roots just drive really deep. You know, 35% of our vineyard at the moment that's producing is dry farm. And then we only really have the capacity to get through blocks 3 or 4 times in a year if we wanted to irrigate everything. So our vines are as conditioned as they can be to experience these heat events. I mean, you get to a certain point, and I don't think it matters what varietal or rootstock you have in the ground. I mean, 110 degrees for 2 weeks is 110 degrees for 2 weeks. You're not going to get around that. But I think it is cool. What I really find interesting and kind of sad is parts of the world that are actually starting to grow grapes that could never grow grapes before. You know, you're looking at vineyards popping up in England and Scotland, and that was never really even an option for them 20 years ago, where it is now. But yeah, climate change is a beast, and it's on our doorstep. I think we have to figure out a way to work with it. I think, you know, soil fertility and sequestering carbon and you know, doing everything you can to take care of the ground is a really good step in, you know, helping ensure a lifespan for your grapevines.
that kind of takes us to the whole regenerative organic conversation and what it is that you guys are doing, and now what it is that a couple other vineyards, Robert Hall and I think Via Creek, are looking at as far as getting into the regenerative organic. Can you explain what that is and that whole carbon kind of capturing thing?
Yeah. I mean, it's super cool. I actually answered a question today, and you know, if you were to ask me 5 years ago about carbon sequestration and its benefits in a vineyard, I would have had zero idea what you were talking about, to be completely honest. And here we are 5 years later, and you're kind of hard pressed to open any sort of agricultural publication and not see an article about it. it's carbon sequestration goes along with, the regenerative farming principles, and it's a process at which you're taking, as plants grow, they need CO2 to photosynthesize and to grow. So they're taking carbon, and as opposed to, using tillage or whatever farming practice that leaves bare soil, you're leaving root systems intact and you're leaving that carbon in the ground. There are other processes, as far as composting or biocharring. There are a lot of things you can do to not allow your CO2 to escape into the atmosphere. And by storing it in the ground, you're reducing the amount of emissions your property may be having. Every time you till that soil, you're releasing carbon into the atmosphere. And it's a really cool, regenerative farming is a really cool way of looking at your farm and seeing it as one living organism. And every plant plays a role. Where 5 years ago we were meticulously cleaning the vineyard of mustard and star thistle, where we still try and remove as much star thistle as we can, but we're also letting some of these plants go that we used to get rid of purely for aesthetics. We're starting to look at our farm as, every plant and animal serves a purpose. What is that animal's purpose? What is that plant's purpose? And how can we make it fit into our system? We owe it to this planet to put some effort into the way we farm and give back. I mean, this planet provides Mindy's livelihood, Curtis's livelihood, my livelihood. It's how we put your livelihood. It's how we put food on our dinner, our table every night. And it's our turn. It's our turn to stop taking and to start trying to give back as much as we can. And regenerative farming and carbon farming is one thing we can do as farmers to really try and make that happen.
Yeah. Mindy, are you hearing clients talk more about the organic and regenerative organic farming?
Yeah, we actually did some trials, started them this year with the biochar. So I have them at 2 different sites, got it from Pacific Biochar. So, 3 different sites, and we're going to continue to, do those trials for a couple of years so that, we have our controlled and non-controlled areas. I mean, anything that's new and comes up, let's try it. Anything we can do to, try to improve is definitely, but I do a lot of the SIP applications and the CSWS as well, talking about Robert Hall. Anything I sell to them needs to be under some type of application. So, there's more and more people looking to, move into that realm, not maybe the realm that Tablas is in, but moving towards that direction. So, yeah, it's definitely at the forefront for sure.
Yeah. And then speaking of kind of this responsibility that we all have, LEED certification is something that Shale Oak it has quite a bit of pride on as far as your building and how it was constructed. And can you talk to us a little bit about what LEED certification is and kind of some examples of that at your facility?
Yeah, well, it's kind of along the same lines, but in the building aspect of things. They're high standards to build in a green, responsible way, and to provide your building with energy in certain ways and provide just a whole, like, an environmental and energy responsible way to build. And so we went that route, and we're Gold LEED certified, which we're, I believe, the only winery in the county currently. 9 years silver certified and whatnot. But it's it's just along those lines of sustainability in a not growing way, but a building way. So we have, we have our solar panels, we have big windows to provide all natural light. You're using as little energy as possible. My favorite aspect of it, which is great in certain years, not in this year, is we harvest our rainwater. So any water that's going to hit our property is directed in one direction, and gather it
Nice.
and use it, and have
Yeah.
we have 500,000 gallons of water storage capability.
Wow.
This year, I think
Where is that on the property? Where are those tanks?
they're they're a long ways away.
Oh, I got you.
They're, we have our winery, and then there's our whole vineyard here.
Yeah.
And our winery is going to be up in this corner, and these storage tanks are going to be down here in this corner, which is not down, it's up a hill. So it's like it's almost a quarter mile away. We've had issues. We have check valves that are in the line that we've had issues with clogging, and it's not the easiest thing to do, but it's I think it's hugely important, and love this. Like, it's kind of one of my pride points of being here at Shale is that, like, we take all, like, because it fills fast. If the ground's saturated and water's just going down to our collection area, we can gather 40,000 gallons of water per inch of rain.
Wow.
So that's once the ground is not sucking it all up itself. So yeah, this year I think we spent half a tank, maybe. It was like 50,000 gallons of water or something.
Yeah.
Didn't do a whole lot, but
And that's what your roof line is all about, right? Because I know that your building and the way the roofs aren't they kind of made to collect water and funnel it and channel it places too?
Yep. Yeah, for that. I was sitting outside right in front of our little water feature. And so all of our roofing is directed. We have two separate buildings, our winery and our tasting room. And all the roofing is directed to that pond and water feature. And that overflows into a pipe which goes directly to the pump, which comes up the line to our storage tank.
Huh.
So it's,
Yeah.
Well,
it's quite the building, and so if any of you have not been to Shale Oak, you definitely have to kind of check it out. I was there not long ago, and again, you kind of stand a little in awe of this building. It's pretty cool. We have a question from the Facebook side of things. We talk a lot about water in Paso, and there's this the question is Paso having issues with falling water table? Yes, in short, actually, yeah. There's the Paso water basin. That's kind of the northeastern portion of the entire AVA that is under its own, I guess, level of duress, if you will, with a dropping water table. We had a couple of good years of rain, and so things kind of seemed to settle. But I think we're looking again at some similar issues that we had prior to 2016. Probably finding their way down the road here. But of course, just to put it into the most simplest of terms, when it comes to irrigating vines, most vineyards are practicing what would be called deficit irrigation. So it's not like they're trying to plump up grapes. So while the water table is falling, it's still, Mindy, maybe you can talk a little bit about this subject, because I think you farm some vineyards over in that area in the Paso Basin as well.
Yeah, I do. And I mean, nothing's ever going to replace natural rainwater for sure. And, our goal is to have some type of canopy. And when you have, zero rain coming in, you have to supplement it with irrigation, but you also have to realize what you have available to you as well. So every vineyard's different. You can't really even specify by areas, because each vineyard has what it's needed, and there's different pockets of soil within that vineyard, so you have to treat every block and every vineyard differently. But yeah, it's been challenging for these last 2 years to you can't have crop if you don't have canopy. So to try to get those canopies, and we're starting to see them right now. The canopies you know, they're struggling a little bit. We saw, you know, fluorosis issues in the vineyard this year, salt's coming to the top, and we just don't, you know, nothing's getting leached down. So, you know, we're just having to basically make concessions there, but we don't have the water to put on, you know, what we do need. We do need rainwater. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it all comes down to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And what a little bit of what Mindy is talking about is also the rainwater isn't necessarily all just about irrigation, but also kind of leaching the soils and cleaning, almost cleaning the soils in a sense over time as to what it might be built up and naturally, of course, and just an over time. So, okay, that was really super serious and everything, which we talk about that kind of stuff. Let's find out, what are we drinking though? Mindy, you have something white.
Yes. So Cass 2020 Viognier. I actually think that they're actually sold out of this or close to it. So Viognier is one of the bigger producers at the ranch there, and one of the top sellers. So it's you know, Sterling does a great job of winemaking there, and you know, it's Cass has really taken off in the last couple of years.
And you manage the Cass Vineyard. So look, can you talk a little bit about Viognier? What's it like out there as far as a plant is concerned? And any challenges farming that one or anything?
Actually, that one's pretty easy. And in Cass in general is a warmer climate out there. We have a lot of sandier soils. You know, we use water from the reservoir and also from the irrigation ponds and everything like that to irrigate out there. But Viognier, Roussanne, Marsanne, they all do super well out there, which, you know, not my favorite with Marsanne and Roussanne, but they do well there and ripen well. And we can always get them, you know, right in that sweet spot of like 23.5 to 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. What as far as bricks and acids are concerned right now? We did have a question earlier that I didn't get to, but I mean, it's tough with 64 different varieties in this town, but on some sort of average, where are we sort of with bricks and acid right now? Curtis, you mentioned something about the Albarino and where it's at, but are there any measurements being taken right now?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Like in grapes in general, or
Yeah, in general, as far as like the whole.
We just started.
Okay.
Mostly on our whites, and that's like I was saying, we're all systems go to get this Albarino in. We have a Willow Creek Viognier that sits on top of a hill, and it's all dry farmed. And we just went and checked that, and it's at 21 bricks, and we're looking at that acid too. And you know, we're checking a lot, but then after that, we'll probably have 2 weeks where we're not really looking at a whole lot. You know, these are kind of have these two varietal or these two lots that we get that are just early risers, and so we'll get those in and press those right away, and then get a little break, and then you know probably a week or two, and then start hitting it and going out and really checking everything as far as the chemistries are concerned on the grapes and whatnot.
Cool. What are you sipping on right now?
Some rosé.
Cool. You have the bottle. Talk about it.
2020 rosé. It's we on our property here we have about a little less than half an acre of some head pruned Grenache that we grow, and we grow that specifically for our rosé program. So we pick it probably at around 21 bricks is usually what I shoot for. The acid's still pretty high up there, and we can typically get away with just doing a 100%. We'll go through. We have a Syrah block right next to it, which will, you know, sometimes do a quick pass through to kind of pull off some pink fruit and add that in there too. Because the Grenache, like this one here is, it's 100%, and it's very light in color, which I'm not opposed to, but I don't mind a tiny bit of color coming from the Syrah as well that we picked for it.
Yeah, that's it. That is super light. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did you say that's a 2020?
2020. Yeah.
What does that retail for? Do you know?
$24 a bottle.
Okay.
And to be honest, it's my favorite rosé. I've been
That's good.
my
I happen to have a Shale Oak also, and so just so you guys can see the label of Shale Oak, I'm sipping on this cab that I happen to have in our stash here. But great wine. This is a 2012, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I know.
That's for you.
It's been sitting around a little while, I guess.
Yeah.
It's really good, though.
Fantastic.
No, it's excellent. So well done. Where does the fruit for the cab come from? Is that part of the East Side Vineyards?
Yep, that's our East Side Vineyard. So we have a 60-acre vineyard over there, and it's probably about 40 acres of Cabernet. And so we sell most of that, and we pull in about 6-7 tons every year. Make our own Cabernet.
Cool. Well, it's really good. So thank you. 2012. Well done. Jordy, what are you having?
Oh man. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm actually not drinking at the moment.
Okay.
It's been an interesting year health-wise, so got to watch my intake. But if I were enjoying wine with you, it would definitely be a Terre Noir. Really, really fun Rhone grape. It's a red wine, really light in color. Enjoy it chilled. It's almost, I mean, you pour that in a glass and it looks like a rosé. But it's really fun, bright red fruits, nice, wild herbs behind it, and definitely one of our favorite new varietals that are on the property.
Is this the first year that it's finding itself in bottle as a single variety?
No, I think we might have started with the Terre in 16, maybe, right around there. So it's actually, the vines are coming into their stride right now. They're about 8 years old at this point, and just beautiful. All of our new Rhone stuff has been so fun to watch. We're seeing this Vacaresse come online and this Bourboulon. We got some Senso out there, the Terre, the Claret, some beautiful new Rhone wines that I urge all you out there, if you can get by Tablas Creek and taste these things while we're still doing single varietal bottles, please do. It's really, really fun stuff.
You say Terre?
Terre, yeah, Terre Noir.
You make that in a red wine style, or?
Yep. Yeah, all done. I believe, let me see here. Yeah, it's all going into oak, neutral oak. As with pretty much all our wines out at Tablas, we're all pretty neutral as far as oak is concerned, and really like to let the fruit speak for itself.
That's pretty cool. Now, how long ago was this planted?
Oh man, now you're gonna get me.
Yeah. Because you said it was around in 16, and so.
Yeah, so it was probably planted in 2013. Okay. Yeah, 2013, 2014.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Where's your map?
They're gonna kill me.
Curtis has his maps in the back there.
Well, I've had that wine. That's pretty. It's a really neat wine. It is delicious. It almost reminds me of a Counoise, but with a little spice on it almost. So it's pretty neat as far as that's concerned as a single varietal. Now, I know you're in the vineyard and not necessarily part of the winemaking components of everything that's happening there. But when you say for now it's a single varietal, is there talk about using that stuff, those interesting varieties like Vacaresse or Terre Noir, as a blender or in blends in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really exciting 2020 vintage. Every single red Rhone varietal is going into our Esprit this year.
Really? Wow, that's cool.
Or actually, it was just bottled a couple weeks ago. So it's, you know, really, really a cool thing to have those varietals all blended together. The Veraison is such an interesting grape. I think the forefathers of Rhone varietals are probably rolling in their graves right now because they really wanted that one to go away. It is a hound for powdery mildew. We found out the hard way on that one, but now that we know, we farm that block a lot differently. But yeah, it's definitely a really exciting time out at Tablas now that, you know, our Muscardin, we got all 14 Rhone varietals producing on the property now. And it's a really fun time to be a part of that progress out there.
Yeah, and a lot of these interesting single varietal wines are available to be tasted if you come out to Tablas, right?
Absolutely. Yep. All of them,
Okay.
I believe, at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Excellent. That's cool. That's really cool. Well, shoot, you guys, if you can believe it, it's almost 4 o'clock. We've been chatting for nearly an hour already. We're coming up on the end of the Paso Wine Hour. That's why it's called the Paso Wine Hour. Before we go, I want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to talk a little bit about maybe something you've got coming up that you want to share as far as the wineries are concerned. But for Mindy, before we do that, Mindy, clock is ticking. When do you think you're starting? And if you had a magic ball or whatever, a crystal ball, when do you think you're finishing?
I think we're going to finish early this year. I don't think we're going to go to Thanksgiving, which I usually do. I love the clients who say, "Oh, we got through harvest." I'm like, "You had one harvest," like, great for you. Yeah, so we've got a bunch of samples going in tomorrow. I don't think it's quite ready. We're seeing a lot of the petite straws on the west side really advanced. So I think that those will definitely start. I think after this heat wave coming through, a lot of the whites, it's going to be the balance of the acids, you know, do we keep them on there or do we pull them after this heat? So I think there's going to be samples Friday and also samples maybe Tuesday. And I think we're going to probably start by the end of next week for sure.
All right.
So,
Okay.
And then we'll always have that lull in between,
Yep.
you know, where we've got a couple weeks in between and we'll be marking vineyards there for new plantings next year. And then we'll go into our reds.
Yeah.
What
One message you want all your clients or people to know, like you know, out there? I mean, they got to contact you. They're looking for labor. They're looking for something. What do they know before?
Well, wineries right now, and it's like my every year thing, I will not bottle in the middle of harvest. So get your act together and get the bottling scheduled and let me get bottling done now before we start harvest. But I always have at least 1 or 2 in the middle of harvest. Oh my gosh, I have no room. Please help me. Please, please, please. So yeah, that's number 1. Wineries, please get your bottling done now. And you know, it's just, you know, sometimes it's beyond the clients, you know, with scheduling. It's sometimes the winery, same thing. They're just like, you know, oh, we need to go now, or we didn't have space or something like that. So it's always a juggling game. It's I would love 48 hours, 72 hours notice, but you know, sometimes things just happen. So but I'm not afraid to say no. If I don't have room, like I said, I know how many crews I have. So if I don't have room, I'll say I don't have room, but this is when I do have room. And you know, it always works out. You know, at the end of the day, I say they're just grapes. You know, nobody's hurt. You know, nothing like that. They're just grapes. We'll work it out. So there's always a solution to the problem.
Cool.
Remain calm.
We had a comment much earlier. Are you still working with Grosso Cresser?
Yeah, I saw that from Mark on there. And actually, he's in the process of building a great new winery. So everybody needs to go check out Grosso Press, where he's doing tastings up in his current facility, and then we'll be opening next year with the new facility right on Vineyard Drive there before you get to Brecken. So
Okay.
yeah, great new winery to add to the area.
Cool. Excellent. Curtis, anything coming up and happening at the winery for people to know about?
We do our live music every Saturdays. It's a big event. We got the Belmores coming out here this Saturday, which are local favorites. So come on out for that one. We're trying to plan a big pickup party pretty soon here. Hopefully we're going to be able to do it. We've had to skip over our last wine club pickup parties, which is a bummer because that's kind of half the fun of being in a wine club. But hopefully in fall we'll be having another one. So we're gearing up for that.
Cool. All right. Awesome. Jordy, last words. What's happening out there?
We got a really fun event. I'm pretty sure. Oh shoot, it's sold out.
I thought you were going to say canceled. So at least it's sold out and not
canceled.
Yeah.
It's sold out at the moment, but we're screening a documentary film by Brittany App called Where There Once Was Water. She shot some of that film out on the property. So we're going to do a little movie under the stars with a Q&A before and a panel. That's really exciting.
I'm a producer of that movie.
Oh, get out of here.
I donated to her GoFundMe.
Maybe, yeah. So you'll be there tomorrow night?
I won't, but
you didn't get a ticket.
Because it's sold out.
I think we could make an exception. Yeah, really exciting event. And I think it's such a fun time to be around a winery this time of year for tasters. Make your calls, get your reservations into these places and get out there all around Paso and be a part of the excitement. I mean, you can feel it coming out of the winery. You can smell those grapes fermenting. Tasting room staff is always fired up. I mean, the weather typically is just perfect in Paso. September, October, it's really one of the best times of the year to be in the area. And I urge all of you to make a trip out to Paso Robles, go see the east side, come out to the west side and see what we have to offer. It's a really special wine region. I think it gets better and better every year due to great farming like Mindy and it's really becoming a place of its own at the moment. And it's a fun place to be farming. And I just feel honored to have a job at Tablas Creek and to have great neighbors like Curtis and Mindy to work with.
Right on, Jordy. Thank you.
Jordan brought it up, but yeah, harvest is the best time to come around to the winery. And that's another thing we're offering at Shale Oak is on Fridays, we're doing tastings with me, the winemaker, which typically we dig into a barrel or two and get to do some barrel tastings, but you can go on our website and book a tasting Friday afternoons every Friday. So the time to do it is, I would, in a couple of weeks from now when we've got fruit on the floor, where you can see the fermentation process, you can taste the grapes when before they fermented, halfway through fermentation in a fully fermented wine, typically. So come on for that. And yes, Jordy's right. We've got a great community here. It's great.
We do.
And
for
Curtis, follow up with Tablas because they might have a ticket for you, I hear.
I'll check.
Just got a text. So anyway.
How are you not going to be there if you produce the thing? I don't get it.
I donated like $20 to her GoFundMe, so
We love you, Brittany.
Oh, that's rad. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another Paso Wine Hour. Go to pasowine.com and have a look to see what we're doing next week because I don't have that planned out yet as things are getting now again for me. I don't have weeks planned out like I used to. And so, yeah, go to pasowine.com and check it out. Or if you're on Facebook and you see that we're going live, then, well, tune in. We'll probably be going live on Monday, though, because we have one of those Cork Dork shows called Liquid Lunch. And so I like to bring along the computer and the camera and throw it out there on Facebook land for people to watch and listen along. So if you're so inclined, we'll have some fun guests talking about the Templeton Gap District on Liquid Lunch on Monday at about noon Pacific time. So otherwise, though, go to pasowine.com, check it out to see what we're doing next. Mindy, thank you so much for coming on. Curtis,
Thank you.
Shale Oak Winery, thank you. And Jordy from Tablas Creek, go Sox. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks. Bye-bye.